Hi guys. Okay, let's start our shadowing for today. Yesterday I learned about being procrastinator and I realized I am not very good at time management. So I think I'm gonna do my shadowing or learning as soon as I can every day. So let's start it. 6 minutes BBC Learning from bbclearningenglish.com. Hello, welcome to 6 Minutes English from BBC Learning English. I'm Becca. And I'm Georgie. Remember, you can find all these episodes vocabulary along with a transcript and worksheet on our website, bbclearningenglish.com. Now, Becca, do you read a lot? But now, Becca, do you read a lot?
I don't read often.
I don't read often. I just feel like I don't have the time, Georgie. How about yourself? I would love to read more, but I don't read very much at home. I read mostly before bed because I feel like it helps me relax and go to sleep. And today we're talking all about reading. We'll be hearing from experts about reading can change our brains. And as usual, we'll be learning some useful new words and phrases. Let's start with quiz question. The longest novel in the world is widely thought to be by French author Marcel Proust, a book which, when translated into English, means remembers of things past. But how many words does the book contain? Is it A, 130,000, B, 1.3 million, or C, 30 million? Okay. The longest novel in the world. I still think 30 million was sound too many. So I'm gonna go with D, B, 1.3 million. Alright, we'll find out at the end of the program. Now, we might think of reading as like speaking. We're born with the potential to do it, and then we learn. It's natural. If something is natural, it's something you were born with or does come from the nature. But Marian Wolf, author of the book Read the Home Come Home, says that this isn't true. We think of language as natural, and reading is written language, so it must be natural. But it isn't. It isn't natural at all. Scientific studies suggest that when we're born, our brains already have the network that allow our eyes to see and our vocal cords to produce sounds, but not with the pathway we need to read. Let's hear more from psychologist and neuroscientist Rebecca Corbett, speaking to the BBC World Service. From an evolution timescale, our brain hasn't had enough time to develop a dedicated reading brain. And so to build a reading brain network, we core parts of the brain involved in visions and auditory processing, and language and attentions and affects. Reading is a really whole brain process. It involves activations in all follows of the cortex, The process of developing reading brain alters everything from brain activity to brain structure and brain connectivity. The power of deep reading is really fundamental to our humanity. When we read deeply, we change our brains and we change who we are. Rebecca says that our brains have an effort to develop a dedicated reading brain. Dedicated here means designed and used for one particular purpose. So, because you don't have a part of the brain designed specifically for reading, when we learn to read to co-op other parts of the brain, co-op here means to include someone or something, often against their will. Right. Learning to read means using lots of different parts of the brain that are designed for other things, and this changes our brain structure compared to someone who hasn't learned to read. And the language we read to also shape our brains. China's characters, for example. Use symbols instead of letters of the alphabet to represent words and ideas. Research suggests that learning to read this symbol activates different areas of the brain to reading an alphabet-based system. Scientists studied a bilingual man who could read and speak Chinese and English. The man suffered a stroke, which affected parts of his brain, including his ability to read Chinese. But amazingly, he's still able to read English. Marianne Ward explains more to the BBC World Service. It's a beautiful example of how the brain circuits reflects the requirements of Chinese, which inevitably means more visual memory and visual processing of those beautiful, intricate symbols or characters. Marianne said that the brain circuit is shaped by learning to read Chinese. A circuit is a system of connections. The visual qualities of Chinese symbols inevitably mean more visual areas of the brain are developed. Inevitably means in a way that cannot be stopped or avoided. Marianne described the simply Chinese characters as beautifully intricate. If something is intricate, it has a lot of detail. And something which also has lots of detail, or certain lots of words. I ask you, Georgie, how many words are in the Mozart prose remembrance of things past? I says 1.3 million, and you are correct. Yay! The book also contains lots of very long sentences, including one with over 900 words. One sentence with 900 words. That is a lot. Okay, time to recap the language we learned during this program, starting with nature, which describes something you are born with or does come from nature. Dedicated can describe something that is designed and used for one particular purpose. If you co-op someone or something, you involve them, sometimes against their will. A circuit is a system of connections. For example, in the brain, inevitably means in a way that cannot be stopped or avoided. And intricate describes something which has lots of detail. That is for this episode of 6 minute English.
Test what you've learned with the
Test what you've learned with the worksheet on our website bbclearningenglish.com.
Thanks for joining us. Goodbye.
Thanks for joining us. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.